Hi, I'm Chad. Welcome to Premier Farm and Home. I'm here with Sarah Leonard from Purina Mills. She is our Purina Mills sales rep. We're here today to talk a little bit about minerals. Sarah, why don't you tell us a little bit about what we're here today for?
We are here today to talk about mineral and the importance of supplementing mineral for cows year-round, in fact. And understanding the importance of feeding a commercial mineral to your cows to meet cows' requirements. We know cows have a requirement for major minerals as well as trace minerals. And unfortunately, sometimes we don't provide those every single day of the year for several reasons. Some producers feel like their cow herd maybe isn't big enough and they can't regulate consumption.
Okay.
Other folks kind of feel like cows eat too much mineral and it's pretty expensive.
Yeah.
And we would like to encourage you to reconsider that because
Sure.
we know that feeding minerals allows for heavier weaning weight on calves. Most importantly, probably it allows for more cows to get bred.
Sure.
And more cows to get bred in the first, basically, heat cycle, if you will. So we get a cow, we get her platform and nutrition where it should be, particularly minerals and trace minerals in most importantly, then we get a cow that's really clicking along and efficient and a good machine for you.
So you did mention, cost associated with minerals. Like, how many bags of mineral would a cow eat in a given year if we decide to keep them on this program the whole year?
You know what? That's a great question because it's pretty simple. Actually, 90 pounds, or I always say just figure 2 bags.
2 bags?
So you're looking at probably $20 on average mineral. So
Cost per head?
$40 to $50 a year. If you maybe want to do fly control, which is a little more expensive per bag than maybe an all season without any kind of addition.
Okay.
So you're not looking at a big investment, but a huge reward because if we can pick up conception rate by 2 or 3%, if we can get 2 or 3 more calves on the ground, that's a pretty economical return, an advantage for you to consider this kind of a program.
Yeah, and also having those cows those calves on the ground sooner. What is an extra 30 days of that calf being able to gain weight, to being able to get a little bigger? When it comes down to sale time, that's dollars for you, and that's real easy dollars. So even if it hits on, let's say, an additional 5 head in your herd, that's 5 head, 30 days, 2 pounds a day, that's 60 pounds per each. I think that more than paid for that 2 bags that you're thinking of, and that's just one of the benefits that we're talking about. One of the other things, I get a lot of guys that want to feed salt, or they talk about salt is good enough for me. Why isn't salt enough?
Well, salt is important, but we put salt in all of our minerals at about a 20% rate in all of our minerals. So it's real important to provide salt, but not to provide salt in an excess to basically limit intake. I know that a lot of folks feel like they use salt as a limiter, and we know that cows have requirements for other minerals besides salt, but we know cows like to eat salt.
Yes, they
do. So they kind of crave salt. And so if we put a lot of salt in something, we seem to kind of hold it back. We want cows to eat 4 ounces a day of the mineral, that has 20% salt in it. So if we dilute that with maybe another bag of salt, like some folks do, we've kind of skewed all the trace mineral ratios to one another. And then particularly if we're trying to provide fly control, as an example, and it's so important that we keep that manure patty concentrated with the methoprene. If we've diluted that mineral, we've cut the methoprene, and then we've compromised our fly control.
And now we are in a different situation where we will have, VFD for our medicated minerals this year. That will be a requirement. So that will be fed. You'll have to go to a vet and have your valid relationship with a vet. For the prevention of anaplasmosis will be the most likely use that you'll have. Now, when you're doing that, that's also important for anaplas, right? If they're cutting it with salt and not getting the right amount of medication, all of a sudden we're not getting any control.
That's correct. That's correct. So whether you're diluting it, even in fact, it stands to reason in all periods. We don't want to dilute the medication, the automycin. We certainly don't want to dilute the fly control. And high mag season facing us probably if the grass greens up in the next 2 or 3 weeks. It's very important that we want to get 10 grams of magnesium per cow per day. And if we're diluting that with salt, we're not getting that magnesium in those cows. And that could be grass tetany issues, and that could be resulting in dead cows. And dead cows are no fun, and they're pretty costly.
Right, right. So let's just go ahead and walk through kind of some of the different options guys have. I know that's a little overwhelming at first, but we want to remember with high mag, we don't want to wait until
right.
grass to put them on high mag. And I know that's kind of where we're all thinking. That's when we consider it.
Yeah.
But how long or how far before grass should they consider using this high mag mineral?
The high mag, the wind and rain, high mag 4, basically should be fed about 30 days prior to going to grass.
Okay.
We see more complications with cows that have been in a dry lot and been running to maybe a bale feeder and then are turned out on green, less grass.
Okay.
If the cows have been out on some grass, the transition isn't as much of a challenge as those going from a dry lot to a green pasture.
So if a guy had like a large calving pen or pasture maybe, where he's kind of doing it and there's a little grass and they're picking at it, less risk than pure dry lot situation.
Right. But certainly risk on cool season grass.
Yeah.
So we want to recommend this, and we would recommend that you feed a high mag program till about the middle of May, or depending on the weather,
Okay.
So after we get through with high mag, you kind of have two options. You can choose a all season wind and rain 7.5% phosphorus product, non-medicated or medicated with a high level of aureomycin, if you have a VFD to do that. Or a choice would be using our fly control mineral, which would be this formula, the all-season formula, with the Alticid, which is a methoprene, an insect growth promotional product that basically retards the maturity of that horn fly.
So one of the questions I always get with fly mineral, they always want to know how well does it work, and then what is considered working versus not working.
Yeah.
So I think one of the things to consider when you're dealing with the methoprene side of it is, we are going after horn flies.
That's
so
correct.
horn flies specifically, and I think that's one of the big things to keep important, right?
You bet.
There still may see some stable flies, they still may see some house flies, and there are some other treatments for that, but they don't cause the economic damage that the horn fly does.
The horn fly are the small flies that blanket the cow's back, that she swishes around and is constantly being bitten, if you will, throughout the summer. They get really bad in July and August, and they cause us economic damage. They lower weaning weights, they lower milk production. A cow is in a lot of pain. She's not grazing, she's not breeding, she's not doing a lot of things we want her to do as far as harvesting your forages. So fly control, the horn fly control is super important.
Okay.
But we're never going to get rid of all the flies, and we probably don't want to spend the money to get rid of all the flies. So there's an economic threshold, if you will, number of flies per cow.
Okay.
And I think if we're using this product appropriately and not diluting it with salt, even if your neighbor's not, based on the wingspan of a horn fly, they can't really fly away from their host cow, you're going to have a pretty effective fly control program.
Yeah, and that's a good point. I get that response a lot. Well, I know my neighbor's not going to feed it or that. And I say that, well, then why would you use fly spray? Well, then why would you use any fly control method if your neighbor isn't going to do it?
Yeah.
Being able to wipe out an entire generation of horn flies is beneficial to you, regardless of if your neighbor did it or not.
That's right.
So do consider, using the fly controls as an option. It's a great add-on to be able to add some additional benefits to the mineral that already will provide a lot of benefits, right?
Absolutely. Our wind and rain, I feel like the Purina brand comes with integrity. We do a lot of research. We researched about 15,000 cows last year, and we won about 4 ounces of intake. We got about 3.99. So
pretty close.
the research that we do at our research farm, the research that we do out here in the real world, all basically equates to a quality product made with a granulated product that's going to shed some wind and rain for you, and put it together according to our nutritionists and how they feel like they're meeting cows' requirements. As we wrap up here today, I do want to point out this is a video that we're putting together for Premier Farm and Home, and we hope that you respond to Chad and his email with the keyword to get you in the drawing for our mineral feeder.
That's right. What we'll be giving away, just so you all know, it'll be a Pride of the Farm mineral feeder. So it's a really nice, big, solid bottom, low profile bull mineral feeder. They retail for about $160. So I think it'd be a great thing that we to take advantage of that opportunity to get in today. Yeah. And Sarah, do you have a secret word that we could maybe email back to me?
Yeah. Secret word for you to email back to Chad.
To be in the drawing.
To be in the drawing, and he's going to give you his email address just in a second. Is going to be horn fly. So horn fly, which is the fly that Mineral controls, email back to Chad.
To Chad, and that email address will be chad@heycow.com. And if you would send that to me through the range that we got with your handout, we'll be able to get that for you and put you in the drawing, and then we'll have a follow-up video to let you know who won. So,
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Well,
thank you all for watching today.
Yeah, thank you so much, Sarah. We really appreciate your time and your effort today. And for those of you, we just hope that you have a good pasture season coming up, and we appreciate your consideration. Thanks.